We're giving Garfield a present, and we're facing a Hoard with Furiosa. I'm Van Connor.
And I'm Adam Ball, and this is Off Screen, your 7-day guide to everything movies.
Boom.
Groovy.
Hello and welcome back to Off Screen then. We have got 4 brilliant movies. I'm saying that tongue-in-cheek because I don't know yet, obviously, because that's Van's job. But they look brilliant, let's put it that way. So we'll go with it.
Potential
movies.
Brilliance.
Yeah, all right, yeah. 4 movies that have potential, which Van's going to tell us about on the show today. Okay, so we're going to start with one that I'm really interested in, actually. I'm interested in the topic. I'm interested in how it's been portrayed, and I'm interested in the music because it's a 90s movie. I'm hoping there is a decent soundtrack to it. It's called Hoard. It is out in cinemas from today. Let's talk about it, Van.
Well, actually, this has been out since last week. This is the only carryover from last week. I wrote
right.
the script. That's on me, though. So we talked about this before on BBC, I think, last week. And so this is a new one from writer-director Luna Carmoon. And it stars Sora Lightfoot, Leon, and isn't it Johnny Quinn? Not Johnny Quinn. Joseph Quinn. Johnny Quinn, he's the other one. Joseph Quinn from Stranger Things is, I believe, the male lead in this. But it's Sora Lightfoot, Leon's movie. She's a young girl who grew up in the late 70s when she was like 8, 9 years old. Sorry, young girl kind of thing. Growing up with her single mum, who's played by Hayley Squires from I, Daniel Blake. Not I Am Daniel Blake, but I, Daniel Blake. And her mum was a hoarder. Like to an almost to a literally physically unhealthy degree. That house was literally filled with rubbish. At some point, social services come in, intervene, taking her away from her and put her into foster care. And we then jump forward in time, say 15-ish years, to where Sora Lightfoot Leon is now playing the character, sort of like, having finished school, college kind of age, early 90s. She's trying to work out what to do with her life next. And into her foster home returns Joseph Quinn's character, who has also been, a foster son of, their foster mum. He has returned. He's setting up his new life with his pregnant girlfriend, moving on to the next day, sort of just checking in at home for a bit whilst they sort of sort their life out. And this bond and relationship starts to form between these two foster siblings as Sora Lightfoot Leon's lead finds herself drawn towards hoarding and what this awakens in her, and the things that this brings bubbling to the surface, these unresolved feelings about her mother and her own backstory. I've got a clip for you. Have a listen. This is from Hoard. This is Sora Lightfoot Leon and Joseph Quinn.
It used to take me longer to remember Mother's voice, but I can hear her again.
Boy, what are you playing at?
I can smell a memory.
You're a funny little biscuit.
I've come to realise grief will never heal over time. Some of my memories are vivid, and some more like dream. They dip and dive.
This looks and sounds great, in my opinion. Obviously, I haven't seen it yet. I can only assume from the fact you ignored my comment about a soundtrack of the 90s, there isn't one.
There is, actually. You were on the money with that. There are a couple of 90s needle drops. There is rather prominently the featuring of a certain Lisa Stansfield track. It's one of those that I know the song, I don't know the name of it kind of thing, because it's from my childhood. But I remember thinking, I haven't heard that like decades. It's a nice throwback. There's a couple like that where you've got like these young girls like just putting a couple of tapes on, put the radio on, etc., listening to some classic needle drops. But it's not really what I would call a musically stylistic film. It doesn't really lean into the period setting that much in that way. It is ambiance at best, and it is really only a fleeting thing. Performances here are really something. I was not sold on Joseph Quinn, for instance, because he's recently been in the entertainment news a lot because he's one of the Fantastic Four, which is gearing up now. We're going to start making that finally. And so he's part of the new MCU Avengerverse Fantastic Four. And he's one of those pieces of casting like, oh, okay, cool, I guess. He looks the part, he works. So, fair enough, I'll get on board with this. I've not really seen Stranger Things, but, I mean, first couple of seasons I've seen, but it's a Goonies show to me, and I'm not really a Goonies guy. Having said that, though, it is Sora Lightfoot Leon's one to ride this. Wow. That's a great central performance that you've got there from her. She really owns this. It's a very commanding performance. There's a lot of levels to it. There's a lot of turmoil that she manages to find. She gets you really invested in that turmoil. But at the same time, there is this stubbornness. There is this hard edge, this exterior wall that both you and the characters within the film, you as the viewer and the characters within that film, just can't seem to penetrate unless she really wants you to. And she sells that. She sells it really, really well. Directorially, I think it works very well as well. I think in terms of the setting of it, I was really brought into this. You almost forget at times that this is the early 90s. Because it's very much a kitchen sink, mental health, trauma kind of a drama. But you do forget that period setting because you're so immersed in just this domestic environment, in these relationships, that all of that kind of becomes immaterial. I'll be honest with you, in the week since you and I talked about this to now, until you mentioned it at the top of this review, I'd forgotten it was set in the early 90s. So, oh, yeah, it is, isn't it? Oh, it's one of those.
Yeah. Do you know what? The reason I noticed, and then what reminded me, which I love, when you have films that are set in certain decades, when they really go over the top with things that are around it, and obviously in this they don't too much from what you said, but I spotted an Austin Maestro police car in this, and I was like, my mum had one of those in the 90s. So, I mean, that sort of thing I love to be taken back with. Absolutely.
And I will say as well, Samantha Spiro as our lead, Maria, her adopted mum, her foster mum, sorry, being the sort of matriarch of the piece. She has, I think, quite a difficult role to play, but Spiro herself is just this really very likable, endearing actress. She's quite charming. And she, again, straddles this line, does it very well, and makes the character, quite a charming, almost everyday kind of a character. I was really sold on her. All in all, I really liked this. I just don't think it's not a big popcorn film by any stretch of the imagination. This is not a Saturday night date movie or anything like that. Don't get it twisted. But I think if you're looking for something different and you want something that it's not quite a companion piece like I, Daniel Blake, in terms of that level of social realism, kitchen sink drama, but there is something on there. And I know, like you say, this is, the Hoarder thing, that is something that we, some people deal with in reality. And seeing it depicted in this way, where it has more of a emotional, psychological toll that it takes, I thought that was a really interesting spin for that.
Well, if you want to watch it, it's called Hoard, and as Van said at the start, it's been out a week now, so probably less people in the cinema to go and see it, so you might get a front seat if you fancy it. So go and look for it. Hoard. Right, still to come, Furiosa, The Present, and next we're going to look at the new Garfield movie. We'll see what Van thought. Stay there. Hello and welcome back to Offscreen. We are moving swiftly on with our next movie. It's animated. It stars Chris Pratt, Samuel L. Jackson and Hannah Waddingham. We are, of course, talking about the new Garfield movie, and I've got high hopes for this, Van.
Well, do you know what? I'll be honest. I think it's an age thing for you and I, isn't it? Because we grew up during the first wave of Garfield mania. Do you remember when there used to be a Garfield stuck to the back windshield of every car that passed you on the road? Like, that was...
Yeah, and in all my mates' bedroom windows as well.
Everyone had the suction cup Garfield on the windows. Everyone had that. My younger sister had it. So, yeah, of course, we have since lived through 2 live-action CG hybrid movies that featured Bill Murray in the early 2000s, and this is now the first proper CG, animated, 3D animated, I think we'd refer to it as now, adventure. This has Chris Pratt voicing Garfield, as you say. You've got a cast in there that also includes Nicholas Hoult as John Arbuckle, his put upon owner. Samuel L. Jackson is Garfield's estranged father. Hannah Waddingham is the villain, and most importantly to me, Brett Goldstein, Hannah Waddingham's co-star in Ted Lasso, is one of her henchmen. And believe me, that guy steals the entire movie. Really. So, basically, you get the origin story of Garfield here. Garfield breaks the fourth wall the minute the film opens, and he tells you, hey, I'm Garfield, here's my origin story. And it tells you of how he was a young kitten, his father abandoned him in an alleyway, And he then followed the trail of the scent of Italian food to a nearby restaurant where he encountered a hapless solo loser named John Arbuckle, who took him in and very quickly discovered that this stray cat that he's met really, really loves Italian food. And the rest is history. As we know, he becomes Garfield, they get Odie the dog, and that brings us up to the present day, during which Garfield, like I say, Chris Pratt, who more or less just lives as a slacker, just watches big screen telly, sat in a lazy boy, orders drone-delivered food on an app, like constantly runs up huge debts for John via his phone bill. He is disturbed from this one night when he and Odie are abducted by an evil cat with sinister intentions, or so they think. It turns out that Garfield is really just bait to get to Garfield's estranged father, Vic, who owes said cat a fortune. Oh, God, what is it now? It's milk. Owes this cat a fortune's worth of milk in a milk heist that Garfield now is obligated to go along with. So Garfield and his dad and Odie have to basically indulge in a bit of Ocean's 11 heistery. Got a clip for you. This is, this is from the trailer. This will give you a sense of the tone they're going for and the energy in particular they're trying to put across with this.
I think this is a case of mistaken identity. You must be looking for another gorgeous, lovable kitty cat. Big bag hunter with the... She got a big bad drop it. Come on, Junior. You. Huh? This is Vic, my father.
Welcome back, Victor.
Listen, I need your help.
Get them!
I haven't seen you for years, and when I do, you're on the run from a deranged cat. We need to toughen you up. Hey, I know tough, Vic. You've obviously never been in an Olive Garden that's run out of breadsticks.
Do you think it was Garfield that gave ginger cats a bad name?
Oh, absolutely.
Just seeing the trailer, obviously this has got some really sort of funny moments in it as well, because like just watching him, when he had his bath and his clean and then like hair dried and like how he ended up at the end, like proper comedy belly out laughing moments.
Right, I saw this with a 5-year-old and a 7-year-old, and they loved it. They had a grand old time. I sat there and, at one point I did doze off for 10 minutes in the middle, and I somehow didn't miss a thing. I realised I sat there with Zara, we dozed off, and didn't miss a thing. It's really harmless, sort of sub-secret life of pets type fare. It's, a boilerplate, exactly what you would expect of an animated Garfield riff in 2024 type movie. It's got the patronising use of modern trends and technology, obviously, like the drones and the apps and stuff like that. Of course it has. It's Garfield making those pop culture references that are going to date very, very quickly, like saying things like, oh, literally me, and, crap like that. But it's harmless enough. It's fun. You go along with it, and you're like, yeah, it's fine. I'm in this capacity, I'm like the parent with kids. I'm here in that role, kind of a thing. So it's not really for me. I will say, Chris Pratt is the weakest point of the entire movie because he's just lazy. I know that's kind of fitting for the character of Garfield, but it really does feel like Chris Pratt is not trying. Like, it felt like he put more effort into voicing Mario than he does Garfield. That said, there are gags in this that really work, that did genuinely have me howling with laughter, that did sort of go over the heads of kids, and they were like pop culture references and things. There was the casting of... Now, bear in mind, I've told you some of the cast already. I'm going to read you off some names. These are people that turn up in this movie, in voice roles, obviously. You had Sam Jackson as Vic. You have Hannah Waddingham as Jinx, the villain. Ving Rhames is Otto, a sort of heist mentor bull that they team up with along the way. Nicholas Hoult, I've mentioned. Cecily Strong in there. Harvey Guillen from What We Do in the Shadows is Odie. Brett Goldstein and Bowen Yang are the henchmen. And, most importantly, and this is sold in the trailer, and I really wouldn't have done this. I would have just left it to be a surprise for the film. You've got Snoop Dogg as Snoop Cat. And it's... And it's exactly the role you think it is. If someone said, we've got Snoop Dogg to play Snoop Cat, effectively that, but I think it's whatever it's what do they give cats in movies that always makes them like they're drunk?
Catnip.
Catnip, that's it. I think his proclivity is for catnip, I believe, but he's still playing it as Snoop. And you're there laughing along, and you know the kids find no humour in, like, I don't get it. Why is it funny? Why is he laughing at everything this cat says? And I'm just there like, Snoop, this is hilarious. And cool, I'm down. I mean, in a day and age in which, Snoop, Godfather, the Dogfather, not even Godfather, a gangster rap, the Dogfather is, rapping sketches and voicing cats. You know what? Fair play. This is insane, and I'm here for it. Decent enough fun. I don't think I would academically give it more than a 3-star rating. Like, out of 5, I wouldn't give it more than a 3-star, I don't think, because there are better versions of this, that you can watch at home, and if you've seen things like Secret Life of Pets, this falls into the same problem that, like, the Addams Family had a couple of years ago. When they were making the animated Addams Family, I think you and I had the conversation, which was, where is the audience in today's marketplace for that? Because they already have 4, at that point it was 3 Hotel Transylvania movies. So they've already seen like a banner, AAA tier version of this. Where does the Addams Family fit in? I mean, it worked out for the Addams Family. I think it'll work out for Garfield as well, but Garfield does suffer from this. Having said that, conversely, you can then say, look, if your kids are really into Secret Life of Pets, or you're really into Secret Life of Pets, look no further, you're on solid ground. You might as well have called this Secret Life of Pets 3 and just had Garfield be an added character for how it plays. But there's fun in there. Brett Goldstein, my boy, Roy Kent from Ted Lasso, absolutely steals it from me, but it's all about Snoop Cat in his little cameo. I just, honestly, you could have just sold the movie through with Snoop Cat, even though I wish it had been a surprise. So yeah, it's patronising, but it's decently fun, I guess.
That just Snoop Cat's just made me want to watch it. Just that alone, on its own. Don't care about the rest. You
would love this with Albert, with all the kids. You would love this. It's a really fun weekend afternoon type thing. If for some reason it rains or anything this weekend, you want to get to the cinema or anything like that, because it's bank holiday weekend, isn't it? This is worth it. This is worth the visit, I think. Just take Bex and the kids and go and see this one. And I don't think you have to worry about attention span or anything like that, because it skews quite young and it's zippy and it's energized enough. Like I say, Isabella's 5 and she sat quietly through this, same as she did through Kung Fu Panda recently as well, but she sat through this and she was taken in by it. She loved it. Came away, I love Garfield, yeah. And like, okay, cool, you're in. We've got you. We've sold you on this brand too. That's okay. Because that's all this has become now. Like, every time we show a child any, like, franchise movie now, we are basically just indoctrinating them into a new franchise. And Garfield works very well, I have to say.
Well, you can make your own mind up this coming weekend or half term, because of course that's happening next week as well. So that's when this is. Yeah. That's a good. That explains why they've released it now, doesn't it? Just in time for half term. Good thinking. Yeah,
because I mean, otherwise it's the weirdest marketing move ever to say, do you know what? When Furiosa sold out, what could we get them to go and see? I know, Garfield. Seems like a weird one.
Absolutely. Well, the Garfield movie is what you're looking for. It's in cinemas from today. Speaking of Furiosa, we'll see what Van thought of that next. Stay where you are.
And now it's time for a segment we like to call Off-Screen Pays the Bills. Hey, Adam.
Hey, Van. So, what's going on?
Ain't nothing going on but the rent. You know how it is. And so it's a big thanks this week to our sponsors at the AI for Kids podcast. Are you curious about the amazing world of artificial intelligence? Then tune in to the AI for Kids podcast, in which complex AI concepts come down into fun and engaging episodes perfect for kids of all ages, making learning about AI accessible, entertaining and inspiring. Each episode, experts of the field dive into fascinating topics like machine learning, robotics and the future of AI, all tailored to spark young imaginations, with special guests, exciting projects and interactive challenges, keeping the learning dynamic and hands-on. Imagine blending education with entertainment to make AI concepts easy and enjoyable, while you learn from professionals in AI and tech as they share their knowledge and experiences, and you can participate in challenges and projects that can be tried at home. It's perfect for kids, parents, and even educators looking to explore AI together. So whether you're a curious kid eager to learn about robots and algorithms, or a parent looking to understand the technology shaping your child's future, AI for Kids is the go-to source for all things AI. So join the adventure into the future on all good podcast platforms today with the AI for Kids podcast. And now, on with the show.
Hello and welcome back to Off Screen. Right, we're going to move on to our next movie. I've got a feeling. I've got a feeling in my waters that this is going to be a good one. Furiosa. Talk to me, Van.
Yes, Furiosa. To use its full title, Furiosa: A Mad Max Saga. Let's see. There are 4 words in the English language that get my blood boiling, that get me excited like very little else in the world. And those 4 simple words are George Miller is back. Oh, I love it when George Miller's back. Oh, yes. Pour it in me, son. Yes. Okay, so this is effectively a prequel spin-off to the Mad Max series. It's a bit more intricately connected than you might think, but set within the sort of aesthetic and story of Fury Road. This is the backstory for the character who was played in Fury Road in 2015 now, she was played by Charlize Theron. In Fury Road. She's now played in her younger years by a couple of actresses, but in her older years by Anya Taylor-Joy. You know, lady of the moment Anya Taylor-Joy from The Menu, most prominently from The Menu, but also things like New Mutants and Split. This is the story of young Furiosa, who, incidentally, she was, it turns out, christened Furiosa. Like, it's not like a name she adopted later. Her name actually is like Furiosa Jones, or we don't actually get a surname, but she's like Furiosa Jones or something.
She's Welsh.
Furiosa Smith, I don't know. I presume she has a surname. They do call her Furiosa. So this is the story of how she grew up in the Green Place. We know of this from Fury Road. She is then abducted by a sort of scouting party of raiders, savages who have ventured across the desert on motorbikes. The Green Place is obviously an idyllic Wonder Woman-like environment, largely made up almost entirely of women, for instance. She is abducted, and her kin, her mum, her mum's friends, everyone from the Green Place sets out to rescue her, in part, you know, for her, but also mostly because they can't have the secrets of the location of the Green Place get out. They don't want all the rest of the guys on bikes turning up to raid the place. So what then follows, and again, this is a George Miller movie. So if you've seen Fury Road, you can imagine how this plays out and looks. What then follows for the first third is the story of a mother's pursuit across the desert in an attempt to rescue Furiosa and effectively keep her lips sealed as a backup plan. You've then got a middle third that is what became of Furiosa afterwards, and then you've got the final third, which is really the Anya Taylor-Joy of it all, that is a solo adult story for Furiosa and how she became the Imperator that she is in Fury Road. You've got a cast in there that also includes Chris Hemsworth as the villain. You've also got Immortan Joe is in there as well. So if you know Fury Road, the villain from Fury Road is in there as well, played by the same guy. His sons are present as well. And there's even a sort of I don't want to get too into it for spoiler reasons, but there is a presence for Max Rokitansky. It's for the Mad Max guy. There is a presence. They have not gotten Tom Hardy. They have not gotten Mel Gibson, but there is a presence. And cap it all off, you've got Tom Burke in there as well, who I think most people know as, who's the J.K. Rowling detective Strike? Is it Strike? J.K. Rowling novel series that's on BBC.
God.
I interviewed him for
I have no idea.
It's like the highest rated thing I have on YouTube is an interview with this guy, and I can't remember what I'm sure it's Strike. Tom Burke is in there as well, and he's sort of...
Obviously a memorable interview, then.
Actually, the interview was memorable. He was a nice guy. I just can't remember the thing, because I remember sod all that J.K. Rowling's involved with. Anyway, so it's the origin story of Furiosa as she, in her later years, sets out to get revenge for, well, her entire life, effectively. I've got a clip for you, which comes annoyingly from quite late in the movie. I'm just going to say this is her getting a hold of someone who has wronged her. No spoilers, I'll just give you that. They released this, not me.
Remember me?
You fabulous thing. You crawled out of a pitiless grave deeper than hell. Only one thing's gonna do that for you. Not hope. Hate. No shame in hate. It's one of the great forces of nature. That wasn't hope, that was instinct.
Do you know, this does look and sound incredible to me. I remember the original Mad Max, and I've got to say, the vehicles in this look absolutely epic.
This is one of those films that you sit and you watch in an IMAX screen, and it's an experience you do not forget.
Yeah.
Soon. And obviously, I had this 9 years ago with Fury Road. A lot of people did. Fury Road is one of the seminal action films of the previous decade. This, I don't think, quite measures up to that, because it's not got the surprise factor. I don't think any of us expected the surprise of Mad Max 4 turned out to be high art. This, again, going for high art, this is more of a sort of Homer's Odyssey type tale. It's literally broken down into chapters. Like, it will fade to black, you'll get a new chapter name, and we'll leap forward 10 years. Things like that. You know from this that George Miller is giving you an Odyssey. This is his fable. This is, it is backstory, but it's here is our operatic backstory for this iconic badass character, because Furiosa, despite, kind of hijacking Mad Max 4, really kind of instantly became iconic. And you have to suspend disbelief a little bit to have to believe that at one point Anya Taylor-Joy and Charlize Theron are of comparable age, because that's just silly. I mean, Charlize is an ageless goddess, but she could still be Anya Taylor-Joy's mom. You know what I mean? It's one of those things. It's got the violence, it's got the visuals, it's got the car chases, it's got the spectacle, it's got that vision. It has got that nihilistic, oily, grimy vision that only George Miller can deliver. Now, the best thing, the highest compliment I can pay it, is that I came away from this desperately wanting to rewatch Fury Road. And I say that because I had rewatched Fury Road 2 days previous as prep for Furiosa. And I came away from the film thinking, I want to watch Fury Road again. I want to watch the story continue. I want to see it carry on. I want to see the full story. And if you have the opportunity, and I'd imagine there must be cinemas doing this, where you can watch Furiosa first and then double bill it with Fury Road, that is a hell of a night of the pictures. When this hits 4K, Blu-ray, UHD, etc., and you can double bill them that way, it's going to be a hell of a night for you. This is really out there. It's wild. It's fun, it's frenzied, but oh my god, you get into the cathartic, visceral violence of it, just the anger, the rage, so much. I just absolutely loved this. I'm not even a fan of Anya Taylor-Joy. It's not really much of a character in a sense, because it's been noted that she has about 30 lines of dialogue, because George Miller has famously said in an interview now for this, I tend to find that dialogue slows down action films, so why bother? And
good point, though.
If you and I have seen Sisu, so we know that that's true. And do you know what? Give it up to George Miller. The man proves his point very, very well. Weakest link in it, I'll say, is they do cheapen the Max of it all by having the Tom Burke character in there, because he's a bit too close to Max. It does kind of undo a little bit of the gravitas of Fury Road. But he's still very good, likable presence. I've always enjoyed his performances. Hemsworth, with the ridiculous artificial nose and a kid's teddy bear strapped to his body at all times, which is a thing he's done. Do you know what? That man is having the time of his life. Chris Hemsworth is at his best when he's enjoying himself. Anyone who's seen all of the Thor movies will tell you that when he's having fun, great. When he's having too much fun, it goes off the rails quickly. That's why Love and Thunder sucks ass. But Ragnarok. This is him in Ragnarok mode. Like, he's on Ragnarok. Like, he is an evil, psychotic dictator. But he's a silly one. And if you got to get anyone to play that, boom, Hemsworth, baby. Oh, yes. Sold. Love it. It's got the music as well. It's got that Junkie XL riff going through. It's got the wonderful cinematography. Like I say, if you can see it on an IMAX screen, because we did. We saw this on the IMAX screen, and you just drank in that landscape. If you thought they used that desert landscape well in Fury Road, they actually ratchet that up here. As backstory, It's great. As a prequel, it's great. As a chapter 0 that you didn't think you wanted to a movie that was already a pretty great chapter 4, it's really something. I think this will come out on a lot of particularly action-centric film critics' top 10 lists at the end of the year. I think this is going to get mentioned a fair amount. I could see it edging its way into mine. If I saw 10 films this year better than this, it would be a bloody good year, to be honest. I don't see it happening. I think in an average year, this might edge out to like 7 or 8 in your top 10 of the year. I could see this being that.
All the reasons to go and check it out at your local IMAX cinema if you can. It is out from today, Furiosa. Sold it to me. That's all I'm going to say. Right, we got one last ride on the way. If the title's anything to go by, I ain't holding too much hope. It's called The Present, and we'll see what Van thought about it or how much he can insult it next. Hello and welcome back to Off Screen. We've got one more movie to look at. Now, I don't know anything about this. I'm literally watching the trailer on silence as I speak to you. All I can say is I'm not really turned on massively by the title. It's out in cinemas from today and it's called The Present.
Yes, The Present, the new movie from director Christian Ditter, who previously gave us the Dakota Johnson, the not actually that bad Dakota Johnson rom-com How to Be Single in, I think, 2016. So you and I didn't work together back then. But I remember giving that, because I was Dakota Johnson, Alison Brie, Rebel Wilson, I think. I can't remember. It was a decent little rom-com, I suppose. So obviously, I expect a decent level of, ability from this, because I know that this person can make a studio rom-com, or at least could 8 years ago. This is a family-centric time travel adventure about a young boy, let's just say about 8 years old maybe, who doesn't talk, for, I don't know, reasons, who communicates entirely through his iPad, which he uses like an AI voice generator, which he changes the voice. For a while, he uses like Obama's voice, and he delivers all of his text verbally as Obama, and so on and so forth. And, he and his two siblings discover one day that at the dinner table, their parents are splitting up. Their parents are Isla Fisher and Greg Kinnear. And before you say it, yes, I am aware that the subject of Isla Fisher ending a marriage at this moment in time is a little bit dicey. Okay? Yeah.
Awkward.
Every red-blooded man knows that Isla Fisher is ending a marriage right at this moment in time. We all know. And yes, it's a bit odd that this is the movie she's promoting. Now, because of this, being distraught about this, this revelation, the discovery that the family have also inherited their deceased grandfather's antique clock, and that said clock also doubles as a time machine, happens to be actually rather fitting and convenient. So the kids start to use the time machine, which is literally a grandfather clock, it was their grandfather's, to dial back the day so that they can change the events and keep the family together, to basically keep their parents from breaking up by reminding them what it is that they truly love about one another. Have a listen to a bit from the trailer.
So your dad and I, we've decided that we need to make a change.
What are you talking about? They're getting divorced.
No,
what?
It's a trial separation.
Taylor discovered that Grandpa's clock can turn back time. Mom and Dad are going to break up at dinner if we don't do everything exactly right.
Let me help.
Sorry about that brutal class. I'm clearly working through some feelings.
No wonder they're in trouble. Mom's beautiful and he's a mess. How is that our dad?
Right, two things I have to say. Firstly, sounds cheesy as Stilton. Secondly, I'm interested to know, the little boy that you say is non-verbal and uses his iPad to communicate, etc., is that because there's a reason for that in the storyline, or is he genuinely non-verbal as an actor and that's who he really is?
It's just part of the story. That's just it. It's also a plot contrivance that the iPad and the voice thing is usable to help them like deceive certain adults over the phone and stuff.
Right.
It's complete garbage. I mean, it's absolute rubbish. I mean, this would prove boring to someone that thought that Alexander and the Terrible, Horrible, No Good, Very Bad Day was the high watermark of cinema. In other words, a kid. I'll be honest with you, this is so contrived and weightless. I mean, it really is weightless. As in, there's just no heft to anything that happens here. It's a really frivolous, almost Disney Channel-like movie. Although weirdly, and this is why I'm so weirdly obsessed with Christian Ditter being the director, I was watching it not knowing who the director was. And I kept thinking to myself, this is shot in a way that really suggests that the director didn't know they were making a kids' movie. Like, there's just a use of camera angles and the way things are staged. It's just a little bit higher end than I would have expected of what otherwise feels like a Disney Channel film. Oh, sorry, that's not a very outdated term. Disney Plus film. Feels like a Disney Plus film. Now, it's very obvious that this was written by a man, because Isla Fisher's character is the worst. Like, I tell you something, if I were Greg Kinnear, I wouldn't be able to wait to can her ass, because she's the worst. Ugh. I mean, no.
Why?
It's a guy thing. It's a guy thing. Let's just say it's a guy thing, okay? I don't want to get too much into it, but it's a guy thing. She's the worst, okay? You know where I'm coming from when I say that. You know. Yeah. There's this would-be potential male suitor in waiting in the sidelines, and you're like, she's doing nothing to put that in its place. No. Okay, yeah, no. Can her ass, Greg. By the end of the movie, I genuinely wanted them divorced. I'm not going to lie, I really did. But anyway, so beside the point, I'm trying to find out. They have a marriage counsellor in the movie, and he's in Roadhouse as well, and he's in Broad City, and he's not credited on IMDb. And he was my favourite part of the movie, and he's just obsessed with watering his little plants. That's his whole thing. He's a typical beta cuck marriage counsellor type. You know, like, clearly no testosterone in his bloodstream whatsoever, but that kind of character. And Ryan Guzman, the former, is he really MMA, UFC? I can't remember. Ryan Guzman, though, is the sort of would-be third wheel of this little love triangle. But it's really poorly written. Like, really bad. Like, this skews really young, and they are making no effort to push it any harder than that. And at the same time, they just have this, Mum's the worst, but Dad is such a mess because we saw him smoking a cigarette. You're like, oh, God. Yeah, so it was also written by a juvenile man as well. Okay, fair enough. Save this one for when you can watch it on streaming, honestly, and you just need something to occupy your 7-year-old child for it's not even 90 minutes, is it? It's 86. So there you go, 86 minutes, of which 6 of them will be credits anyway. It's a waste of time. It's ironic that it's called The Present, because if it actually were gifted to you, you'd return it. Like, ugh. No,
but I've got an issue with that. I've got an issue with the title, because I feel that a lot of movie titles, they need to describe a little bit of what they're about with the title. Now, there is no reference to time travel in The Present, is there?
Well, they are changing the present, aren't they? It is quite clever when you think about it. They're going into the past to change the present to make a better future. The title, fine. As a double use, though, and present also meaning gift, like I say, doesn't work at all, because nobody wants to be given the experience of watching this. Nobody. No. If you'd shown me this when I was the age of the central protagonist in this, I would have been bored. And having said that, I was like a Terminator 2 fan when I was that age, so, you know, I was...
They may as well have just called it Now, because at least then there's a bit of intrigue.
Do you know what's a better time travel movie than this? The Nicolas Cage movie Next. Nobody remembers that movie. It was garbage, but it was a damn sight better than this. And you can also watch...
What about What about the hot tub time travel?
Oh, Hot Tub Time Machine. The first one's really good, actually. The first Hot Tub Time Machine.
Yeah, I thought so.
Good. Yeah. Second one's rubbish. Second one's absolutely rubbish. But my ex-girlfriend never let me live down forcing her to watch that. She's like, why did you make me? I'm like, because the first was really good. She's like, no, it can't be. And I promise you it was. But, Hot Tub Time Machine, better movie than the present. There you go. Better gift. I gift you the knowledge of watching. My present to you is don't watch the present, watch Hot Tub Time Machine. There you go. I'll pick off your point there.
Well, there you go. Well, if you don't want to wait till it's out on streaming, you can go and see it in the cinema. Of course, Van would probably advise against that, but it's in cinemas from today. Right, movie of the week. I already know the answer to what you're going to say, but what is it going to be?
Furiosa, baby.
Yeah.
Pour that in me. We ride eternal, shiny and chrome.
Right, let's talk about next week. When we come back, we have got Hitman to talk about.
Yeah, which is a comedy. This is, I think this is a Linklater co-written and directed movie. It's co-written by its star, Mr. Glenn Powell from Anybody But You, and it's sort of a comedic hitman story. This is on limited theatrical from today, by the way, but it hits Netflix next week. So then Netflix are doing that thing, that 1 week release they can qualify for awards, and that 1 week release in like 3 cinemas, and then it counts as long as they're in London, kind of thing. That's why we haven't like purposely reviewed it as a theatrical. We have also got new movie starring George Mackay and Léa Seydoux, The Beast, next week, which I've got the screener for, by the way. I need to hook you up with that because we've got to watch that one together because we're going to review that one clearly next week.
Yes.
One that I do not have a screening for yet. I don't think there is a screening on the books, and I cannot work this one out in my head because it's a Disney movie based on a true story, starring Daisy Ridley, and it's called Young Woman and the Sea. They showed us the trailer for this a few weeks ago at a Disney screening, at some evening Disney screening, and we were just like, wow, no marketing for that one. That's interesting. Okay. And one that I know we've talked about already, that we've got a link to cover on this one. Sting is out next week. I've been really looking forward to this. This is the giant evil spider movie, Sting. I can't wait for this. Pour this in me. This looks twisted. It's absolutely my jam. But I say we'll talk about it next week.
That's an IMAX movie already. I can hear you saying that next week. Absolutely.
Well, we're both watching it at home, so
yeah, that's true. That's true. Although you and I both do have quite large TVs, so we can pretend it's in IMAX.
We do overcompensate. This is very true. We are both radically. We're 40-something men radically overcompensating with the size of our ... televisions. Yes.
Well, we look forward to all of those next week to see what Van thinks of those. That's all we've got time for this week. We will return. Until then, I've been Adam Ball.
I've been Van Connor, and we'll be back.